Greetings, citizens of Nerdtropolis. Sean Tajipour here, the Mayor of Nerdtropolis, and my guest today is Ric Roman Waugh, the director of the upcoming movie Kandahar starring Gerard Butler. Hey, Rick, how are you?
Hey, Sean, how are you, bud?
I'm doing great. It's great to chat with you today.
Yeah, you too.
So, Kandahar, it's your latest movie hitting theaters on May 26th, and this is your third film working with Gerard Butler, correct?
It is. And, you know, we've known each other a long time, and I've been fortunate for him to be a fan of mine as a filmmaker. And when they were looking to reinvent the Has Fallen franchise and do something different with it, they brought me in for Angel Has Fallen. And so this brotherhood just took off, where we are two passionate guys that love to do stuff that can be different and provocative. And so after that, you know, we went on to make Greenland together, which was such an amazing experience. You know, there have been other Comet movies before. Yeah, absolutely. But Greenland, the script gave you a unique point of view that you hadn't been seen before, where it felt like we could be with our own family in the middle of a global disaster. And how would we deal with it? Well, how far would we push our own morality? Then you're kind of scratching your head going, what the heck can we do next? Because we don't want to phone it in. We don't want to do something that just kind of feels normal. And then we read this amazing script by Mitch Lafartune, Kandahar, you know, where I was a huge fan of the movie Sicario, and so was Jerry, where Sicario took you into the war on drugs, but it showed you the human factor and the human cost on both sides of the equation. So we had a better understanding of what's really happening on the border and deep into Mexico, right? And our own American politics. And that's what Kandahar does. Kandahar takes you into the Middle East in a very different way, where you're not just dealing with the Western characters played by Gerard Butler, but you're also seeing the other side of the equation, right? You're seeing much more of a Rashomon point of view of not the politics, but the people that are underneath all the politics that are that are sent to enforce policy, you know. But they're just trying to get back home to their families as well, right? They're not the politicians, just like our warriors that go fight these wars and go into battle. They're not the politicians that are sending our young men and women there. This is about the people on the ground.
Yeah, and with you and Gerard Butler, y'all are making amazing movies, and Kandahar is one of them. And he is paired with the amazing Iranian actor Navid Negahban. What did he bring to this role?
Yeah, when I read Kandahar, the character Muhammad, there was nobody else but Navid for me. I was a really big fan of his work. And then when I met him and he told me his story about being born in Tehran, but being a refugee, as a child refugee when the Iran-Iraq war broke off, and just his little legacy and how much he's kind of, you know, red flagged in Iran now because of how he talks out against the regime. And again, that's kind of what the beauty of Kandahar is about, is it shows you that there are these staunch ultra conservatives that are still in the Middle East that only want work, pray, and sleep. They're very totalitarian, but there's this generation of people underneath that don't want that way of life, you know, and they're pushing boundaries, you know, against their own death, you know. And so Navid knew it firsthand what it was about. So he was always going to be an anchor. But then from there, and Navid helped and other people, it was like, I didn't want the usual suspects in the movie. I wanted to find fresh faces. I wanted to find that big fish in those small ponds that people hadn't seen in a big Western film before. So then we brought all these amazing characters of Bahadur Falati and Ali Fazal and, you know, and Nina Tassant, you know, just really wonderful people that brought their own wares to the table and made it feel authentic, because they are authentic.
Oh, yeah, they definitely are authentic. Iranian actors are some of the best in the industry. I'm a little biased, but I'm going to say that they're some of the best. And I noticed a lot of them were from the Apple TV series Tehran that I watched. Did you ever watch that TV show? Because a lot of those faces are familiar and they gave a great performance in that show. I'm just curious if you ever saw that show.
Yeah, well, here's the irony of it, is the first season, because Navid was in it. And then I saw Vasilius, who's an amazing actor as well. And then, but Bahadur Falati and some of the other characters from the second season, that never aired yet. I'd already cast them in Kandahar by seeing their auditions and who they were. And then suddenly I find out they're all going into Tehran too. So it was almost like Tehran was coming Kandahar, the sequel.
Yeah, it's great to see those familiar faces. Did you pick up any Farsi by chance?
Now it's gone, because the interesting thing about the movie is we obviously we stayed native to all the different various dialects and languages, you know, and that was the fun part for me to direct the movie. Is there were a lot of times that I wouldn't understand what the words were, and I love that, because if the performance wasn't there in the eyes and wasn't there in the expression, I couldn't rely on the words to band-aid it, right? So I think that's what the strength of the performances are, is that they're really about the emotion these characters are going through. And if you get the emotion right, then the audience has something to grab onto, so that the action is an emotional thrust for the audience as well. And it's not just action for the sake of action. You know, I love to go watch the big superhero movies and watch a car drop out of a plane from 30,000 feet and, you know, stay on its wheels and keep going. You know, in my movie, those people die, you know, and so it's about trying to be authentic, but give it an emotional thrust into the action.
Yeah, and I love hearing all the different dialects of Farsi and other Middle Eastern languages melted in there, which is great. After Kandahar, you got a couple sequels that you're working on. You got a follow-up to Greenland, and then you have Night Has Fallen. Any updates on that you can give us?
Well, the sequel to Greenland is something that we're working on a lot right now. It's always been a plan to do the first movie that took you to the extinction event. And then the second movie will show you 5 years later what happened after, who survived, how did they try to rebuild the earth, how did they try to continue life when it was scorched the ground. But the other movie that I'm very excited about making, that I just became attached to and we're going to do, is I'm doing the sequel to Cliffhanger. You know, and Cliffhanger is going to be a lot of fun. It's for the new generation. It's kind of how Top Gun Maverick took the same narrative from the original movie and carried it forward. We'll be doing the same thing through Stallone's character and introducing new people and new characters, including his a daughter in the movie, and hopefully we'll carry that forward for a new generation. The way that he took the Rocky franchise and gave us Creed through Michael B. Jordan. So I'm very excited about that. I was always a big fan of the original movie, and it's fun to see. It's fun to now play where we're not making remakes. You know, we're not taking a title and just putting all these brand new people in it, that we're really carrying the nostalgia forward, so that I go to the theater with my new 15-year-old sons and they get to live vicariously through me of the original Top Gun, and then they see the new one. And we're doing the same thing with Cliffhanger. They're excited about it too.
I am too. And just saying you're going to be part of that. I love legacy sequels. I love Stallone. I love Rocky, and I love Cliffhanger. And ironically, I just spoke to actor Simon Phillips, who has worked with a bunch of action stars, from Arnold to Bruce Willis to Jean-Claude Van Damme. And he was saying, I need to get in that Cliffhanger sequel because I want to work with Stallone and fill up all his like baseball card decks of all the 80s and 90s action stars. So I'm going to do him a favor and mention Simon Phillips, that he is interested in being in Cliffhanger too, when I spoke to him last week. But lastly, you were a stuntman before you became a great director, you know, behind the lens. One of them, which I really love, speaking of Arnold, is the Last Action Hero that you were a part of, which is totally underrated. Have you ever thought about helming a legacy sequel with Arnold? Because that is a great underrated film. And with all these legacy sequels coming out, you're doing Cliffhanger too. You ever just a little bit thought about possibly revisiting that world with your own creativity?
Look, I love Arnold, and I think that the bigger thing that you're hitting on, which I'm thankful for, is, you know, after this pandemic, we're starting to get people back to the movie theaters, and the huge mega movies are doing it. But this action genre that you grew up on and I grew up on, and that I still love to make, we need to support them. We need to get people to come to the theaters and realize that these are these kind of communal experiences that we've always loved and appreciated, these adult-driven action films. So hopefully you'll come to the theaters here on Memorial Day weekend and see how we built Kandahar for the theatrical experience. You know, the sound design of this movie is not made to be in a TV. It is in a theater. It is big, loud, and audacious, and really kind of transports you. And that's what these movies do. The movies that you just that you just talked about, these are things that I would love to continue to make. But we're all in this together, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Kandahar is a great movie. Tons of action. It must be seen on the big screen. Really love everything that you do. I'm looking forward to all the other movies you're going to be creating for us. Solid entertainment. So I really appreciate your time, Rick. It was great chatting with you today.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate you, bud.
Once again, this is Sean Taj, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and stay tuned for more movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers.